welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck-building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, sounds like a candy bar, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. I'm Grant Gould, and joining me across the North American continent is your favorite Canadian and mine, Eve Martin. How's it going tonight, Eve?
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
All things in the world are not too bad. They're manageable. I guess people can't always say that, right?
You're right. Some people's lives are just flat out of control sometimes, and
yeah, I have my challenges, but right now they seem manageable, so I'm happy about that.
that's good. Got to count those small blessings, you know.
Exactly. Hearthstone, I'm sad because the kind of like brief time when Druid was really good seems to be over. Like, I have hope that the meta
Druid
might make its way back around. You know how, like, things tech against other things and then something else becomes strong. And then, so it might work its way back around to people not putting so much AoE, like, teched directly against Druid in their deck. Because maybe Druid goes down and they get lulled into a false sense of security. And they're like, there's not a lot of Druid out there. And then I'll be like, this is my moment to strike.
How high did you get?
2.
This week so far. Oh, wow.
Ranked
all the way up to
2 stars, and then fell all the way back down to 4.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I was stubbornly going, no, Druid is still good. I can do this. And like when the writing is on the wall, people, you do have to listen to it. Even if it's a deck that you feel so comfortable with that you're like, I can still get a win out. You do have to pay attention to the meta. You have to put your pride aside and go, if I want to continue playing this deck, then I have to stop playing for a while or switch to a different deck. So that's sort of where I'm at.
I used to be of the mindset where like, nah, you just got to be really good at a deck and just pick that deck and just ride it to legend. But I think that the game has gotten more complicated since then. I think there was a time where you could do that, or more or less. I think now it's you better have kind of a deck for one type of legend or one type of meta and another deck to switch to when that type of meta sort of alters itself to deal with the deck you're playing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like we tell people,
like
how many decks should I have to go to legend? We say 2. Should have at least 2.
Yeah, 2, possibly even 3. But like right now, like I haven't even touched standard for the last part of the week because I was not able to figure out what the meta was and nothing was working. So like, you know what? I'm just gonna go play Wild because I feel like I have a better handle on what's going on in Wild. And
okay, I am so curious. What's going on in Wild?
Wild is same old, same old.
Oh,
Wild is still
I feel like it
rogue,
hasn't changed
paladin.
that much since the expansion.
It hasn't
hit?
changed at all since last month. Not at all.
Oh, that's not great.
The only notable difference from last month is that there's Vargoth in Big Priest. But I mean, the same decks in Wild are still good. So I've been playing Odd Paladin with the addition of that secret that when they cast a spell, it buffs your minions
Right.
plus 2 health.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because Priest will see all your little dudes on the board and they'll go, hey, I'm going to
Spirit Lash?
what is that card? Spirit Lash your dudes. And it's like, nope, because the secret triggers before the spell resolves and they can't do it. So they get health, but they don't clear your board at all. So that's pretty cool. I like that little bit of ability to go against Priest. But like if I start seeing too many Priests, I switch over to Kingsbane Rogue because that's another deck I know really well. And even Temple Rogue's okay because they have Vile Spines and they have Saps and stuff. So it's like, yeah, go ahead, put your Barns down. I'll just mulligan for Sap every time and you put your Barns down and I'll just put that Obsidian statue right back in your hand and kill your Barns and then I'm not going to worry about you for the next 4 or 5 turns.
I feel like maybe Sap is the best response to Barnes. I don't think there's a better one. Do you think there's like even one that comes close? Silence.
I mean, everything is a distant second, I think.
Yeah.
I think Sap just putting, it gives them a full-blown minion, but it gives you the time you need to just blast them out. unless they have an answer for every single turn up to that point. All you need is 1 or 2 turns to stick, and you're good.
What
Which
I would do
happens a
is
lot more.
silence it with my aggro deck and then ignore it. Because as soon as it dies,
Yeah.
they can bring it back multiple times. But it's got like, what is it, 8 or 9 health?
It's got 8 health.
8, yeah.
It's a 4/8.
So even if he bashes it against all my minions attempting to kill it so he can start rezzing it again, it's going to take a couple of turns. So if I ignore it and don't engage, then it's going to sit there and not get rezzed over and over again. So silence was my best.
Silence is good. And I noticed, shout out to Slizzle. He puts out content every so often about like these are the best wild decks, and he's not wrong. Like he puts them out and he talks about why they're good, and he had a Kingsbane Rogue out but has Vanish in it. Just vanish somebody's board.
Yeah.
It's great. I had wondered if that would actually be viable, but 1 Vanish seems to be enough. Vanish plus Saps seem to be the answers you have, because vanishing a huge board and like burning half their minions, or vanishing just even 1 minion and don't killing it so all their res stuff does nothing is great. I mean, Kingsbane Rogue, man, I had an almost 80% win rate with it last month, climbing the legend. I played a crap ton of Kingsbane Rogue last month, and I was very glad when I saw a Priest. As long as I could get a decent mulligan, it wasn't that big of a deal, because you can just punch them in the dome so much if you can just sap their stuff back in their hands. So I've been playing Odd Paladin because it's been working. I'm at rank 3 right now. I don't know if I'll be able to hit legend or not this month. I'm not too stressed about it just because I did it last month, and so that itch has been scratched. But the climb is going really well, and I feel like I'm playing very well. Like I'm mulliganing really good, and I'm making good plays and good trades, and it's kind of a really satisfying feeling, even though I'm playing a deck that is kind of boring a little bit, but it's strong, and the satisfaction of playing well, or feel like I'm playing well, and then getting results kind of keeps me coming back, because I think I'm at heart a spike. I just like to win.
If you have a deck that you feel challenged and it has like different choices and different options, then that seems to be something that you like to run with.
Yeah, I like flexibility in decks, and I mean, I know the win condition. I know when I'm going to lose. I know that by turn 3 or 4 in a mirror, whether or not I'm going to win or not, or if I have a chance, because there's just certain things that if X happens, then I'm in the game. If Y happens, then I'm totally out, and I'm likely not going to recover. And that makes losing easier to take. But what was it? I realized my wife got so mad at me the other day because we were playing Monopoly. You ever seen Monopoly? There's like 5,000 different editions of Monopoly.
Right.
Where there's a Mario Monopoly.
Yes.
And they create each character, like from the Mario game, has like a superpower, like a hero power based on what it rolls. And I was applying the Hearthstone rubric to how I think about it, and like some characters are just totally busted. Like one of the characters, like when you roll their hero power, they collect all the coins. You want to get coins, and it gives you like this economy. It's like would be like equivalent to mana, and you could do stuff with. And I let my kids play those characters, but I always end up getting the really crappy hero power characters. And I was out of the game, and I had 0 agency, and I was starting to get really salty. And my wife was like, "Why are you so mad? It's a kid's game. Just play the game with them." I was like, "It's not fair. I don't have any agency. I can't even play the game. I'm just kind of sitting here doing nothing." She's like, "That's what most board games are doing." And I got to thinking about it. It's like, she's not wrong. I don't like Monopoly as a rule. And sorry, you kind of don't do much. You kind of wait until like all these classic board games, there's a whole lot of not much to do. So it's it's kind of fun because I like Settlers of Catan, but I'm the worst person to play Settlers with because I think I've only won like twice in my life. And I can tell, like, if the game's not going my way, I just sit there and I just stop caring. And I start looking at who's winning and I start throwing the game in their direction. Like, I'll just do stuff to benefit you. I'll just let you win, because I just don't care. Because I get real lackadaisical about it. Because once I know I'm out, I just don't care anymore. And I just stop even trying.
Settlers of Catan games can go on for hours. Like, the first time I played that game, I loved it. And I thought it was so fun. But the second time, it was like, wow, you're really in for the long haul. If somebody doesn't immediately just get, like, a monopoly of something.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have some good friends that are way into it, and they get like talking trash, and it was kind of an agreement we have where talking smack is totally fine as long as it doesn't get really personal or anything like that, you know. But like Like my friend called my wife a sociopath when we were playing because my wife's really good at it. Like she wins a lot, and she we were playing this, and then so I thought that's just how you play Catan. You know, it's fun. You kind of rib each other and like just laugh and joke and eat and drink and all that good stuff. And then I go and play it with my family, and they're all sitting and they're very quiet and they're thinking about it, and turns seem to take forever. And I just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. Why did I do this?
But
This
it
is
was your
stupid. I
part to
hate this
liven
game.
it up and be like, let's try something new and a little fun and start
couldn't.
calling people names.
Yeah, I don't know that my family's that kind of people though. Like they're the kind of people who like, all right, we're doing this to win. There's no fun here. They're like, I come from a family of spikes. If you're not doing it to win, stop right now and go home. You know,
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No, I don't. And I'm probably the more lighthearted of all of us. Like my brother's kind of a quiet guy anyways, and he just sits down and he's just like, and he's really good at strategy. So he's sitting there and the gears are turning. Of course he wins, but he doesn't interact with anybody the whole time in any meaningful way. So it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna play this game with you anymore. I'm not bringing this one to my parents' house ever again. But anyways, I digress.
That was our time where we usually talk about the weather. I think we used that well.
Yeah, we did.
Family Stone.
Family Stone. New segment on the show. Family Stone.
Yeah.
So, anyways, on this particular episode, we will be talking about the question and answer session that they had this week, where people got to ask questions of the developers, and some of them are questions that we've been asking for a long time. Some are pretty obvious, and we're also going to talk about a Vareesa Windrunner Joybuzz Hunter deck that's got Malygos in it and Alexstrasza, and you can kill them with cheap one-cost spells that hit them in the face for 6. Super fun. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk about how to play it. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Paladin and stuff, but that was the deck I was playing a lot in Standard this week, just because, well, I am a Spike, but when I can kind of make the Spike part of me go away, I like to play fun decks. And even though I still want to win, I still like when they do really cool, freaky, nasty things to people, and the person on the other end doesn't know what's coming because they didn't know you could do that with Hunter or something. I don't know. So Malygos and Hunter, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. All right, Eve, I think I've talked enough. Okay. I think I've rambled on enough here. So let's kick it off into the news. We could start with the easy stuff, I guess.
The questions?
Well, let's just easy, like Hall of Champions is the Tavern Brawl.
Right.
So
where
all
you
those
get to revisit all of the decks of the people who have won Hearthstone championships. So I didn't realize that there are quite a few different cards that let's keep this PG-13, that I whine about on the show, because I went in and got like my least favorite deck ever to play with, and went on Twitter and was like, I got my least favorite deck and my least favorite card to play with. And there was so many people guessing so many different cards that weren't it. And I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be obvious, but apparently like Spreading Plague was something a lot of people were guessing, and it's Ice Block, people.
It's not
I
Spreading
got
Plague?
Freeze Mage.
Oh, Ice Block. Oh, okay. You're right. I could see that. I just didn't think about it. I don't know why I didn't think about Ice Block. That's like the OG hate card for you. You just hate that card.
Yes, I could have killed you 3 different times. And you just put up this one card, and all of my minions and all of my power sit on the board, and they are neutered.
Pretty much.
Because they can do nothing. Yes, it caused me a lot of frustration back in the day, and that's the first one that I queued up. I won with it too, and I like never learned how to play Freeze Mage because I am not a control player. But I was like,
Right.
I think I remember how they played it against me. So
Right.
And then won my pack and was like, I'm not going back. That's it. I'm just grumpy now.
Let's see. What did I play against? The first, I'm such a noob. I didn't read anything about it. I was early this morning and I queued into a game. This is total self-deprecation here. So, audience, you're gonna think I'm a total idiot when I tell you this. I queued into the game and I didn't know what the brawl was. I wasn't paying attention, and I'm like, "Huh, I'm playing against Firebat." because in the person's
You got
name,
locked up against Firebat. This is what you're thinking. Oh my gosh,
that's what I thought. I'm
Firebat.
like, I'm playing against Firebat, and I mean, I got destroyed because I ended up playing like some Zoo Warlock with Nerubian eggs, and I was playing a really slow Druid deck, so I just got pwned. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I did play against Firebat because I just got wrecked. And then I queued up the next game because I needed to get my pack, and it's Pavel. I'm like, no way. That's not possible. I would not get queued against 2 world champions. And I go, oh, that's what it is. This is just part of the cosmetics of the game. Why am I such an idiot? And I just kind of was thinking, playing against Fireback, because I've played against many different professionals on the ladder.
You have,
and been on stream and stuff like that. When you play Hearthstone for 5 years, you just it's not an if, it's a win, right? So it's like it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, I got on a stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, he crushed me pretty bad. I've won a couple times, but
that's too funny, Grant.
I'm playing against Firebat. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, he could be in the brawl, right? Why not?
He could. It was not outside of the realm of possibility, but I didn't read what it was, and I was just like, oh, Dex. Oh yeah, okay. This is okay. This is old school Dex. Got it. I mean, I figured out what the brawl was, but I didn't realize that they were labeling whoever was playing on the other end. It just masks your battle tag.
Yeah.
Your handle. So,
but it gives you a lot of information about their deck if you know anything about the World Championship decks. So
true.
Can give.
And
you
I
an
wasn't
edge.
going to do that much homework, though. To be honest, I was like, man, I'm just going to get my pack and go, be done. So, and then a friend on BattleNet was like, hey, you want 80 gold? And I said, heck yeah. So I was much happy after that. So.
The Raven bundle, I got this 15 packs for $10. It's different.
That's a pretty good deal.
Canadian dollars, but still like a decent. If you're just thinking, I just need a couple more cards, I just need a bit more dust, this is like a nice way to kind of top up if you got the pre-order deal.
Yeah, if you're just looking for dust, this is great. And I thought about buying it. I just was like, no. I had a couple golden legendaries of stuff I didn't get. Like I pulled a Dr. Morgan, a golden Dr. Morgan somehow. And I was like, oh, dust, I needed cards. And I pulled a golden something or other from a wild pack a while ago that I've just been hanging on to when I needed it. And
what's Dr. Morgan?
So she's the card that, like, when it dies, it substitutes. I think when it dies, it's a Witchwood card. It was a Warlock legendary. It substitutes itself out for a card in your deck. It kind of does what Madame Goya used to do, but I don't remember the specifics. It's nobody plays it.
Pulls
it's
it out of the deck instead of put it into the deck, maybe, because Goya was Yeah, I
don't remember all the details on it, but it's not a good card. So I dusted it, and Andrew, our good buddy from Happy Hearthstone, was like, "Oh, dude, you got a golden one. Oh, you're gonna make a deck with that?" And he had said he'd wanted to try a deck with it, and I was just like, "Oh, maybe I'll hang on to it till I need dust." And then the moment came where I really wanted to. The spike in me, I was like, I really wanted to play. I don't remember what it was. It was some off the wall deck that I needed some epics for, and I had like no dust. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna buy some epic cards. So we did that. And anyhow, so yeah, if you want to spend, I mean, anything $1 or less for a pack is a great deal. And if you need cards or dust, totally worth it just for the dust. So get on that.
There was a new animated short. Did you watch it, called Win or
I did.
Lose?
It did. I thought it was an exercise in futility. I don't normally. I that's a bit salty of me. I'm not usually that salty. The production value is all there, but it's basically the elf and the heroic dude with the big
muscles and long
lion's
curly
mane
hair
and the Freddie Mercury mustache. No, he doesn't have that. He has a big giant mustache.
He's like a good-natured, friendly guy, but he also comes across as being a little slow.
Yeah, he's kind of a brute, if you will, in a friendly, happy dancer sort of acrobatic sort of way. Yeah, all they do is they queue up a game and they just slap cards down, and the big dude always is flopping down a Murloc. It's the same Murloc sound like 10 times.
But don't all the Murlocs have the same Murloc sound? So it could be literally any
No.
Murloc because they all have the same Murloc sound?
No, they're similar, but they're not the same. They pitch it slightly different, and it's slightly.
Okay,
you,
so
like next time you play,
then that's impossible because you can't have more than 2 of one card in his deck. So in order to make this short, they're breaking the rules of Hearthstone. Which somebody else pointed out that the elf supposedly casts a secret on turn 1.
I didn't even think about that because I was like, okay, that's funny. It's a Murloc, but he keeps slapping down the same card. The big guy does, and I don't remember what his name is. They all have names, but I never bothered to memorize them. And it's the same Murloc, and he deals with every single one of them, and then he top decks a card and wins the game. And then I won't spoil it for you, but I actually just thought it was like, okay, that didn't really tell much of a story. It was a very, very, very basic plot line. I mean, it's about as basic as I can imagine it. And it wasn't even that amusing. So as far as, I mean, normally their stuff is fantastic. This one was a little bit of a swing and a miss for me. So,
you know
but
what?
it's worth watching.
I am going to agree with you on that because the animation was beautiful as always.
Mm-hmm. Like usual. Yeah.
But yeah, it was almost like, hey guys, no matter whether you win or lose, it's a game and have fun and look at it from a different perspective. But it's like, I'm sorry. Do you know gamers? Do you game?
Yeah.
Like this, I don't know if it would have gone over well for children.
Yeah.
But I'm not really going to watch a Hearthstone video and have a complete change of heart and be like, okay, from now on, when I lose, I'm just going to say good game and smile and walk away. This is not very
Try to
Valens
social
of us.
engineer us through animation. Got it.
Well, here's one
I
thing.
don't know.
I'm going to reiterate again for those people who care about lore. He's an original Hearthstone character. He's not Kael'thas. Because I read a lot of people in the comments trying to guess which World of Warcraft character he was, which Blood Elf. He's a creation for the Hearthstone shorts. He's not even in Hearthstone. He's like, they've said before that they're going to keep all of those characters in the tavern playing Hearthstone, so they're never going to become cards.
They say that now.
Yeah. So it was interesting because people were watching it so carefully and going, okay, wait a minute. There's no way he can cast a secret on turn 1 without, like, what is it, Cabal Lackey? And didn't see any Cabal Lackey. Because there is the very distinctive sound of a secret being cast. Like, I listened back to it. And then the sounds of playing Arcane Missiles. And I think the last one that he won with was Pyroblast. So it's kind of funny that it's almost like a Pavlov's dog kind of thing where we all recognize similar sounds of mage spells and obviously Murlocs. And people were like, wait a minute, this just doesn't work. Like, you can't have a Hearthstone game that they had because it breaks all of the rules of Hearthstone. That was very gamer to me. The reaction in the comments to this short was like, yeah, that's what we're like. That's what we do.
Gamers are very often the people who will go and watch a fantasy movie that maybe a book was based on, Lord of the Rings or something like that, and notice all the things that was in the book and that are not in the film or vice versa, and catalog it and decide if that's okay or like it. And it's the same thing. You game you spend so much time on. I mean, I think this last month I passed 13,000 wins in my client. I was like, man, 13,000, okay. And it's like, yeah, 13,000 wins represents a tremendous amount of time. And some of that stuff you just know without even thinking about it, right? So you don't. So like when he casts a secret on turn 1, I should have noticed it. Maybe I just wasn't really paying attention. But like, this is the same Murloc sound over and over again. Hey, you can't play the same card over and over again. I noticed that the Blood Elf has a Golden Celebration card back,
right?
And the big acrobatic dude did not. And I just thought it was funny. I was like,
just the basic card back.
So he played in a tournament, huh? Oh, okay, got it. But it was, I mean, worth the watch. I personally did not find it as good in terms of storytelling or magic or fantasy.
Let's think about it like this. They're building the characters. So you have a very clear idea of who the Blood Elf is, whose name that we both forgot, and also the big muscly dude whose name we both forgot. Like, he's the
They must be doing a good job of building those characters if we don't know their names.
I'm in here for the fun of it, and I want to build a Murloc deck, and I'm here with my basic card back, and I'm going to go up against the established pro, essentially, with his Golden Celebration card back, who's just bored of it all and waiting for the adulation at the end of the game, which everyone runs over and hugs big muscly dude because he's the one that's having all the fun. He's the one that's full of joy and happiness, and every card he plays, he's just this childlike happiness. So they all gravitate to him. Whereas the Blood Elf, not even enjoying the fact that he's winning, putting every card down with disdain and contempt.
Yeah, very aloof. Oh, fine. If I must play your child's card game, I will.
So I guess there's a lesson there, but it's pretty heavy-handed.
It makes me feel like if I'm a control player, or if I'm playing the harder to higher skill cap decks, that I'm just a little slightly culturally inferior to the person who's just playing for fun. It makes me feel like that's a commentary on the established dug-in Hearthstone players versus the newbies that don't know anything. The new player experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the two should never meet.
Well, that's the thing, though, is it's not fun for a new player to play against a well-established player.
Yeah.
It's not fun at all because you will crush them.
And they don't even know why they lost.
Yeah.
They don't even know where it came from.
Yeah. There's Hearthstone is a very complicated game, and I think about I've been playing the game for 5 years, and I'm still learning things. I'm still analyzing my play and thinking about, oh, geez, why did I do that? Or I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, shoot, that was a misplay because X, Y, Z. And it's yeah, these are thoughts that I just think about as just part of the game. And there's so many people that don't know that they should be thinking things like that, or don't care to, or just that's not where they want to be. They just want to push buttons and see pretties,
Well, I'm going to be honest about something. As a parent, I know my job is to tell my kids, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game.
Sure.
But I've never believed it myself because it is about winning. 100%, if you give your all and you lose, it still feels bad. And it's I almost feel like I'm lying to my kids to say, go out there and try your best and have fun. When really, if you get destroyed by the other team, there's no way that you're not going to feel crappy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And trying to get kids to feel something that sort of goes against what they would naturally feel, it just feels almost fake and wrong. To try and get them to create emotions, you should be able to just be happy no matter what, when I can't do that myself. And it might just be because I'm a spike too, but if I go into a game and I've prepared and I've trained and I'm trying my hardest and I lose, I don't walk away going, oh, well, I tried my best.
Mm-hmm.
I go away going, I tried my best and I still lost. I gave it all I had and it wasn't enough. Now, that might be something that I struggle with personally, and other people have a different way of looking at it. But this game is Blizzard trying to say, or this short is saying, go in with your Murloc deck and have fun, and it doesn't matter if you lose. But is that how you feel? That if you go in and you just have fun with the silly deck and you get your face beat in, that it's all fine and good?
Yeah, see, that's the thing is fun decks, in my opinion, silly decks are fun to a point. I wonder what everybody's threshold is. Okay, I'm going to go play this really cool deck that's got an outlandish win condition, and I'm going to try and make it work. I'm deck building. At what point in time do you just get tired of getting your face bashed in because your deck either is no good, or you're not piloting correctly, or or it's just not met the deck that's going to work in the meta? It's like the deck I'm going to tell you about later is super fun to play, and when you win with it, it feels awesome. But if the meta's wrong and it's not a control meta, it's an aggro meta, it just feels bad. doesn't matter how fun the win condition is if you just get smashed you get your face smashed in by turns 5 or 6 or 7, you know.
I think the problem is that both you and me are pretty competitive people in spikes. And we have a big community with a lot of different kind of players and a lot of different kind of people. So I would love your feedback. Are you able to go on the ladder and just play a deck that you find super fun, even if it's not competitive, and you might lose a couple games and still come away after that being like, I had fun?
Yeah.
And
that's a good
how
question.
do you do that? And teach me, please, because I am like literally not capable of being happy when I lose.
Yeah. It's still, I mean, it's a struggle. Like, I think sometimes I play the game to just make a point of, have I mastered my ability to not actually be livid if I lose too many times? You know what I mean?
Like, I'm
And
happy
let
if
it
I'm
carry into
calm. I'm happy if I walk away from the game and I'm just calm and I'm not angry. That's a win for me. But I'm definitely not, that was fun. Like, is this just me?
Sometimes, I mean, there are moments when I'm so genuinely surprised where I just laugh. Like the first time I played against a Darkest Hour deck and the guy had his board filled with huge minions by like turn 4. Like the whole deck was just a wall of like Lich Kings and Void Lords and Malganises, and I was just like, what just happened? What is this deck? As I didn't even know Darkest Hour was a card. Like, I think I'd forgotten about it, and the first time I saw it, I was like, what is this? That just, and in that case, I was like, well played, concede, because it was just like, this is awesome. But you know, if that were to happen like 10 times in a row, I'd be like, okay, I'm not having fun anymore. I don't want to keep taking my lickings. I'd like to have a chance to win too.
Yeah,
please.
There's definitely times when my opponent has done something amazing and unexpected and different that I've been able to go, yeah, wow, that was cool, good job. But if that experience happened over and over and over again, then that would quickly change.
Indeed.
So,
well, we probably should get into the show. We've had a rather lengthy opening discussion, but as you can see, we like to talk about Hearthstone. So we had a Q&A. Dev told us last week, hey, there's a Q&A coming out. Send in your questions, and people did. Some of them are more interesting than others. We may or may not touch on everything, just kind of what interests us. But Eve, why don't you kick us off with the first one?
Right. Someone who may have listened to the show, who knows, asked, what exactly happened with Dr. Boom's scheme? Its flavor, art, and effect don't match at all. Was there a last-minute change? And if so, what was the original version? And we said this on the show ourselves when we were reviewing the card, that it gives you a whole bunch of armor and the art is a bunch of bombs. So what the heck? So their answer is, designs go through a lot of iterations, and this one happened to be a little later than others. We try to get the flavor, mechanics, and art to all line up, but getting the right design is the most important part. So they tried boom bots, shuffling in bombs, dealing damage, and then eventually landed on the shield. We wanted to give them some more defensive tools to help out that archetype more than the damage and bomb version. So I'm guessing that it gave Bomb Warrior a little too much of a boost, probably, and they had to scale it back and give them something else, which obviously if it's a warrior, it's going to be armor. But that's like, we noticed that at the time as well.
This card's seen almost no play too. It's just interesting because I'll bet you if it did damage or like more boom bots or something like that, it probably would have been, I mean, warrior tilts people anyways, but this would have just been torches and pitchforks. I think if it had probably gone with what they probably don't want to tell us what it really, really was, you know.
We tested it out and it was too OP. No matter what we did,
it was OP.
So we gave
translation. Yeah. The next one was somebody said hero cards like Dr. Boom are clearly very strong, but only a couple classes have them. Peter Whelan said there wouldn't be a new hero card this expansion because the Death Knights just rotated out and you thought it would be nice to take a break from them, but here we are. Dr. Boom is pretty much broken and we aren't getting that break. And he plans to address the remaining hero cards now and or as they become overpowered over the next year. Yeah, if you've been playing any kind of Hearthstone on Standard Ladder in particular, Dr. Boom is very, very powerful. And I think the Hearthstone community is tired of it because the interesting thing is it took the rotation out of the even more powerful Death Knights to realize that Dr. Boom, that like that infinite value that you get from Dr. Boom, whether it be armor or damage or mechs or what have you, it's just not fun to play against. You think you're doing good. Oh, Dr. Boom. Oh, I guess the game swung now because you have infinite value now.
It's not as bad as Rexar, but the fact that it does give all his mechs rush makes every minion in your hand a removal spell. And there's also ones that can bounce minions back into your hand. So you like remove something with it, put it back in your hand, and then bring it out again with rush again and remove something else. Like I've seen this happen multiple times to me going up against them as Druid. So, and then one of the hero powers is discover a mech. So it's not as bad as Rexar on every turn, but you also have like the deal 3 damage, the 3 microbots which come out and they all have rush. So yeah, it is a lot of value, especially in this meta, which is slow. 20-minute games. Yeah.
I played after our episode with Nicolina, and I got real hyped about playing Warrior. I played Warrior for a couple days after the episode, and I feel like I played it a lot better. But I was like, man, I can't playing half-hour, 20-minute games in my life is untenable. Yeah. I cannot do that because the thing I love about Hearthstone is I like that I can play a 5 to 10-minute game and be done and then walk away and do something else if I need to, A lot of times I would be like, I'd have my phone out, like, oh, I have a couple minutes to play in that game, and I'd have to like postpone other things just so I could finish the game. Otherwise, like there were a lot of times I would just concede because I didn't have time to finish the game.
Yeah.
Definitely not fun. And I don't know that Boom is really the problem there. I think Boom is still is a little high on the power spectrum, but
he keeps them from running out of juice. Like he prolongs the game.
Yeah, he does prolong the game. In mirrors is where it's really bad. But I think their answer was kind of a non-answer. Like it's a lot of political obfuscation. And
we've learned a lot about hero cards since we launched the Death Knights. In general, we like them to either have a fair amount of variance in their gameplay or to have their hero powers be at a power level more in line with Justicar True Heart than, say, Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
No kidding.
So they like Zul'jin, they like Boom, and they like Hagatha, comparatively to pretty much all of the Death Knights.
Well, and it's interesting. I played a lot of games where I was Warrior versus a Control Shaman. And it's interesting to see the value when both Hagatha and Dr. Boom are out and you're like trying to outvalue each other. That's a long game,
The times that they've gotten like multiple the deal 3 damage in a row, I've been like, yes. Like that's the least bad for me in that matchup. So that's what they're saying. They're like, there's variance.
Yeah, the variance helps a lot, but we'll see. I mean, it's still, just remember, community, it's not even close to as bad as Rexar, Gul'dan, and Jaina. Just remember that. Not even close. And Wild, and the thing is that you put Dr. Boom in Wild, and it's like, so what? You know what I mean? It's like, who cares? Oh, you got Dr. Boom on? Oh, that's fine. I'm still going to beat you down with 5,000 Doom Guards, or a million tokens.
Don't despair. They are keeping their finger on the pulse. They're looking at HS replay. Warriors around the 4th best class right now, and Shaman is 5th. So that's Boom and Hagatha. They're not worried about them.
Next one.
Don't you think the epics should have the same rule as legendary cards? Can't open duplicates. That's like a straight across. We're happy with the no duplicates rule for legendary, have no plans to extend it to epic cards.
Your question was stupid. Next question. It's like...
Well, am I wrong? But there's like more epic cards than there are legendaries.
Oh yeah, a lot more.
So them saying that you would get no duplicates, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and then so I mean it's fine. I don't mind that being the way it is. I know people have talked about that for years. That is not the new question at all. That's just another question
that's been an issue about epics.
Well, because some epics were just really. I'm trying to remember which epics were the ones that really brought that out. Was it It might have been Psychic Scream.
We really, like, a lot of the times when we rated cards in the reviews, we would always say epic means situational. And there are a lot of bad epics.
Yes. Well, I think epics have gotten better over time, honestly. I think
agree.
older epics are much worse than newer epics.
I have dusted so many epics in order to craft legendaries.
Oh, I mean, heck yeah. I've done that so often, like, especially a couple years ago. It's like, man, I really want a legendary. I wonder how many epics I can get rid of. That's where I first went, you know. But yeah, they're not going to mess with it, which is fine. I'm not going to complain about that. The next question is, are you please going to do something about Wild soon? We Wild players opine for a new meta. And they basically said, their overall response is a lot of language to say, we're kind of like things being a little bit overpowered. But I don't think that's what we're asking for. I think Wild community is saying, we'd like it to be shaken up a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't really care how you do it. Don't really care what it is. We have some suggestions. It'd be nice to not have Vargoth, Big Priest around forever. You know, they nerfed Naga Sea Witch because that was pretty busted, you know. They nerfed Aviana because 9-cost Aviana. And the funny thing is like Togwaggle decks and Aviana combo decks, they're still good. All you have to do is have a 0 cost was the spell that gives you a mana crystal for 0. I'll blank it out. Anyways, that card. And so you can still play them, but you know, Wild it's not the power level. I think that's the mistake here is
they
not
didn't
the power
ask the
level we're worried
question
about.
clearly enough. Like, people assumed that what they meant was there are OP decks in Wild, but I think what you're saying is it's stale.
It's very stale.
Yeah, so they were answering a power question when the question probably was about staleness.
I mean, if you change Barnes and you change a couple other cards, it opens the door for other things to be viable.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we're just asking for. I don't think it's, well, we just really want you to, like, get rid of any things and change the power level. No. I like Wild because I like busted stuff and I like doing that. And I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit. I do like the predictability of the meta because I do really well in predictable metas.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, how many months are people going to want to play in hyper predictable metas? So just like Arena, you know, Arena has to be changed up because it starts getting very stale. So they change it up. Why not do it with Wild? You know. So anyway.
Yeah, because the new expansions, they can't make crazy busted cards that are going to impact Wild because they're trying to keep the power level down in Standard. So things that are already kind of shaken out are just going to continue to be the most powerful things.
Well, I mean, and just look at the fact that stuff rotated out affected Standard drastically this time around. People are loving Standard. Yeah. Wild is almost not affected at all by the current new set because the stuff that's already there is already too powerful. So, well, if people are if most of the player base plays Standard, then why not just change cards?
Well, this next question might give a different answer too. Any plans for a new game mode in the foreseeable future? So if you had a different group of cards to play with, if there was Wild, there was Standard, and then there was your third option.
Yeah.
Which maybe was like a rotating set of different sets. Like they would grab, Blackrock Mountain and
like they're doing in Arena.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in an actual
game mode, okay, here's a different ladder. You can climb ladders.
You're not a game mode, Arena. I didn't mean to say that to you, but like a ladder experience where you can build decks instead of, the 3 at a time card.
Or I know what people are going to say, or a tournament mode. No.
We've heard from the community and understand this is an important thing to you. And it's important to us too. The idea of a new game mode is very exciting, so figuring out what the right thing to do is important. We're going to continue making card expansion and solo content, but other ways to play Hearthstone is something we're very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that we're getting solo content coming up. When is that coming out? Do you remember? Was it a
Well,
month after expansion that we were
it was
getting?
about. They said about a month. They said about a month. Well, we're almost there.
Yeah.
So it's probably coming up soon. I totally forgot about it, to be honest. I've been enjoying the game, so it's not like oh man, when is that solo content coming out? I'm so bored. That's not what it is at all. So that's probably a good thing.
It's
so.
good timing that like just as things might start to get a little bit samey, we have solo content coming up to keep us happy, and I have a lot of expectations that this is going to further the story in ways that we haven't seen before. Like they're really going to double down on the lore of these expansions through the solo content. So looking forward to that.
Indeed. I'm going to skip the one about the tribes. Somebody wanted to know if there was just touch on it briefly, like if there was undead tribes, if that could be a tribe, or treants be a tribe, and it's basically the long and the short is
class.
Yeah, they were basically saying we don't want to really turn cards that are tokens into a tribe.
Yeah,
basically what the long and short of that one was.
Yeah, if you're interested and that was one of your questions you were interested in, go to the site and read it.
Yeah. Yep. Somebody else, the tri-class cards coming back. Any chance we'll see them again? And the funny thing, I like how they always affirm that your question is great. It's cool. We're excited about what you like, and yeah, maybe. It's a maybe. Glad you asked the question. Maybe we couldn't.
Did you think the tri-class cards were awesome?
No, I wasn't particularly fond of them because I didn't like how it was a neat idea at the time, but they fit so nichely into particular decks that you never saw them as a tri-class card.
Right.
It's like, for example, what's the card? Aya Blackpaw. What other deck was she played in other than Druid? She was played in Rogue, Jade Rogue, and maybe Shaman.
Yeah, Shaman.
But really, you think of her as a Druid card. You know what I mean? Because Jade Druid. So it's like, I mean, at the onset when they first came out, they were better. But as time wore on, they stopped becoming relevant.
Yeah, they weren't like a big boom, amazing thing to me. But somebody obviously thought that they were awesome. I think like the ability to get cards from other classes was interesting. But that's like a rogue thing now.
Yeah.
Druid's class identity formerly included mana ramp, but the core cards that enabled it are no longer as good as they were. Will it become a theme again during the Year of the Dragon, or was the Year of the Raven a final goodbye to that archetype? No.
Good question.
Mana ramp is indeed part of the core identity of Druids in Hearthstone, and we do intend to maintain that going forward. While they may not currently be as extreme at that as they once were, that leaves us room to add more stronger mana ramp cards in the future. I think it's safe to say you'll see mana ramp cards in Druid again. That's an actual question and answer. So they intend for mana ramp to be a Druid identity thing, and going forward, maybe the ones that we had previously were too strong, and now they can get a little more, like we've been saying that the cards that they've been designing are getting more and more clever in the way that they give you options and flexibility without being overpowered in an obvious this is broken way. So yeah, more mana without being they won on turn 5.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the whole thing, right? They wanted to make it to where that the classic cards weren't as good as what they come out in the sets, because then what's the incentive to have the sets?
Yeah,
it's just business, guys. Yeah,
anything
which is fine if they make a wild growth that costs 2 and it's a card in a set. I'm fine with it. I don't care. It's good I'm good with it. Skip down a little bit. I just thought this was funny. So somebody asked, what does evil, the EVIL with all the periods, stand for? And then the responses were funny. It's like, that's a good question. And this says, I'm not sure. Not sure if even Rafam is sure. Maybe elaborate vision of ideal leaders. Jeez. And then another one said, how about every villain imbibes lemonade? And one said, don't listen to those guys. It clearly stands for evil, 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 where every letter is capitalized, as they say it. Khadgar says they're extortionists, vile, immoral louts. And Dr. Broom says explosive varmints importing loot.
Hey, explosive varmints importing loot. I think that's my favorite.
Those are all funny. That's good. So, hey, if you got a good one, let us know. Throw it in the Discord chat.
What does evil stand for?
Mm-hmm.
What's up with Arcane Servant?
I
What
don't
is
know.
the card Arcane Servant?
I don't know. That's why I didn't want to touch on it. Like Arcane Servant? What is that card? Again, some cards just are not played to the point of they become obscure.
I think it's just a basic card with an elemental tag, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So they were like, this is so weird and odd. Why did you put it in? Well, we've seen before lots of times that a card that doesn't fit into every single archetype that's running around is in a set. And then in the next set, there's like a bunch more added. And in the next set, there's a bunch more added. And suddenly elementals are everywhere. So, yeah. Look for more elementals in the next set is what we're saying.
Guess so. You want to skip the keyword one? Because the keyword philosophy is a lengthy discussion that we've talked about on the show in just terms of how they view keywords and why they change it and stuff like that. Like, for example, they don't use echo anymore. And they said that they even have an echo card. There's an echo card in the new set that's a shaman healing spell, and it says can be cast repeatedly or something like that.
Multiple
they changed the word, but they don't use echo.
Yeah.
And the reason they said, yeah, we changed the keyword because people coming into the game would have no bearing on what echo meant.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't in Witchwood when Witchwood came out, which is a year ago now, they would have no idea what that was. And they want to just make it more friendly for people who didn't know, which I'm cool with that. I would rather have, if it could be cast over and over again and they can fit it on the card, I'd rather have that than echo. I always thought echo was kind of funny keyword anyways. So.
Well, I mean, they do focus tests with people that are more casual, just starting Hearthstone or coming back to it. The single biggest thing that turns people off in card text is keywords. That's interesting. I have gone back and bought Magic the Gathering card packs. Just for the heck of it, to sit down and play right out of the pack with my son, because they're pre-made decks, which is the easiest way to do it. Hearthstone, take notes. And definitely when you have a bunch of keywords and they don't right underneath it have the explanation of what the keyword means, and you have to go online and look it up, or pull out the little pamphlet that comes with each deck and read all the meanings of the keywords. I can see that. Lifesteal, Rush, Wind Fury. Wind Fury isn't really self-explanatory.
No, it's not.
You could attack and then be like, oh, it's still green. I guess I can attack again. But it's not intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just some things that, that is the maybe they're just thinking, okay, you're playing a card game, a TCG. They just people assume that there's a lot of complicated rules and you just kind of know what you're getting into. But if you don't have somebody holding your hand, walking you through it and kind of explaining it as you go, it can be like, well, hang on a second. I remember playing with my daughter and she would be playing a game and you could tell if somebody on the other end was new because you'd see them hovering over cards and then it would just stay there and you could tell they were reading it. So you're just sitting there and they're roping because they're reading the cards. They don't know what they do, And it's just, I'm sure that not knowing what it does and then echo, what's that? Well, hang on quick, I'll look it up while my turn's in the middle of a turn. I could see that being kind of annoying. Oh, you can cast it more than once? Problem solved. No seeking out new information.
Well, and the new thing where you can hover over cards and it'll have this text underneath it that talks about all of its abilities and everything that it does. I mean, that's an option, but we historically know people don't read. That's a thing.
Yeah, people don't read.
Gamers don't read. People don't read. We don't read signs. We don't read instructions. You don't read details about things. So as much as possible in a visual medium like this card game, they want things to be obvious in other ways that aren't requiring you to read. Would you be willing to consider some temporary nerfs to make up for some deficiencies in some classes? Most classes don't have the removal tools to handle Token Druid. I disagree. Apparently everyone can do it. But you could quite easily give them those tools in the next expansion or two. We are working towards a world where class, strengths, and weaknesses are better communicated and more easily defined. One option players have when their class may have difficulty with wide removal options is to tech in cards from neutral, like Dragon Maw Scorcher and Mossy Horror if they're running into a lot of decks like Token Druid. Neutral options are generally weaker than class removal options, but there's something you can reach for if that's something you're running into a lot on the ladder. We'll continue to provide these types of options in neutral for classes to look at, to either bolster things their classes already do well or help shore up some deficiencies they may have. And I like this because this is the way you keep every class different. If every class has removal and every class has healing and every class has single target removal and every class, then there's no flavor to each of the classes and everyone can do everything. And that's how you get overpowered classes like Warlock.
Right.
Which is single target removal, multi-target removal, all of the things. Makes me a little grumpy sometimes. Self-heal.
Yeah, I mean, asking for... the classes do need to have some kind of things that just don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have to have weaknesses.
It sucks, because if you're just like, I like Druid, and I want Druid to do everything, and that was the big problem, is Druid did do everything for a long time. You know what I mean? They did armor better than warrior, you know. I mean, it's healing and removal and stop you and getting your big guys out real fast, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is I agree with their philosophy. I agree with where they're going. Sometimes it's I've got nothing against this deck. And then they have to give you a tech card specifically kills pirates or specifically kills murlocs or destroys secrets, which is a little... people have complained about those tech cards forever, but that's their purpose. If you don't have a tool to do it and there's nothing you can do, they're go into the neutral set, look around, find something. Secret Eater.
Yeah. Let's see what's the next one. It says, why'd you guys decide on nerfing some classic cards such as Cold Blood instead of Hall of Faming them as you usually do? And they say a couple things are going on here. For basic cards, we've always nerfed in the past. If we Hall of Fame a basic card, we need to replace it at the same time since it's in everyone's collection. So they don't want to just take cards that they kind of just gave you up front, you know. It says there's something we might do in the future, but we haven't yet. For classic cards, it's a question of whether the effect is something we want around long-term and standard. There are a few pieces to that. How well does it fit in the class's fantasy? Is it a healthy effect for the game to have around always? And is it something cool and exciting that we want to preserve in Wild? For Cold Blood, it's a healthy effect, something we want rogues to be able to do, and not so unique that we felt like Wild rogues badly needed it. So we nerfed it instead of Hall of Faming it. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, putting Cold Blood into Temple Rogue or Baku Rogue, or Odd Rogue, whatever you want to call it, you know, it feels kind of bad when they can Shadow Step and put that in there. So they just made it a card you can't have in that deck. And honestly, I don't think it's been affected by it. Not that much. So it's interesting how they decide, you know, keep stuff. And I mean, Cold Blood was a card I wondered about, but why they didn't Hall of Fame it. But I guess we have our answer. So let's see, scrolling down.
I like the discussion they have about deciding which cards are going to be legendary, rare, or common. So if you've ever wondered that, go take a look at it because it's a really interesting, and they get into detail about their theory of what cards should be legendary and epic and common. So if you've ever wondered, take a look at that. That's cool. They're talking more about refining and defining the specific strengths and weaknesses of each class. And they're talking about making a designer insight or blog post about it. I'd read that, do that thing.
Yeah, do that thing.
Legendary spells and weapons. Only when it feels right. We're not going to do it just to do it.
Yeah, you know, there's people out there that are like, well, you've made legendary weapons. I want more legendary weapons. Why? Because you've done it before. They they base everything off precedent. It's like, yeah, but that may not be what they want to do going forward.
Are we going to get more of these? Is this on your radar?
Some of those things were cool, but, you know.
Now, here's the question. Vareesa Windrunner
What?
has a special voice line when facing Garrosh. You'll pay for Ronin. This is a great addition, but it left me wondering, why was there no voice line for Vareesa being played against Illyria? I was very excited to see the final Windrunner sister put into the game, but it makes me sad that neither Sylvanas nor Vareesa recognized Illyria. Yeah. Man. See, here's my actual thought about their answer is that you have to get those voice actors in and pay the money to do lines, so they might not have been able to do that. But
it's not free.
Right. But their answer was, these little hidden interaction voiceover lines are super fun to add. We try to do them where they'll be most impactful, but not clutter things up with having too many.
Yeah.
What? Okay, I understand clutter with like extra text on cards and UI, but voice lines? Really?
I don't know. I don't think that that's a clutter thing at all. Because it's going to be, how is it cluttered when it doesn't happen all the time? You know what I mean? Or very rarely.
Yeah.
I think that's just their answer for, we didn't want to pay voice actors.
Rise of Shadows features a ton of lore important characters, and so we picked the lines we liked best and tried to spread them out between multiple characters. I've seen people notice and comment on a few of them, but I'm not sure if anyone's found them all. I believe there are 8 to 9, depending on how you count it, of these in Rise of Shadows. So that is interesting. But seriously, the Windrunner sisters, that was kind of off of their radar to not know that people were going to want those interactions.
I think we even talked about it on the show, if I'm not surprised, or if I'm not mistaken.
We did.
I'm surprised that they didn't. Like, I think it was with Nate. Nate came on and said, yeah, it'd be really, I want to hear what they say to each other. We're like, yeah, that'd be great. But apparently they just didn't do it. Oh, well. Oh, let's see what else. Scrolling down a bit. Man, Team 5 mentioned that the Burgle effect would change to from another class, in quotes, instead of your opponent's class going forward. It says, since Pilfer is in the classic set and will remain there forever, will you change its effect? So that's the philosophy going forward, and they say, and then we're okay with letting the old style cards just rotate out of standard and stay in wild. But as you point out, Pilfer is a special case. It's in classic. Because of that, we are considering whether we should change it, but we haven't settled on a fix just yet. I wonder if there's coding issues.
Yeah, because they said it felt bad when you went against the mirror and you're not getting it from another class because it's another rogue. Mm-hmm. So I really think they should. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't just bring it in line with from another class. I don't know how much it messes with the code and how difficult that is, but I absolutely think that they should. Mm-hmm. Any of you got a favorite card design or mechanic that had to be scrapped because it was impossible to balance or fundamentally flawed in some other way, or one that sounded cool on paper but turned out to be much less fun in practice for some unforeseen reason? One of the earliest cards I pitched in Knights of the Frozen Throne was Mass Teleport. Something that you can do in World of Warcraft to bring all of your friends to where you are instead of waiting for everybody to like ride there or fly there. Mm-hmm. Mass teleport is hugely helpful if you're all trying to gather together for a raid. Fill both sides of the board with random minions. It sounds really silly and fun on paper, but once you realized the opponent always had initiative over your minions, you just died 100% of the time. I thought, well, maybe as a dreamy card it's fun, or what if the enemy has a full board? But it just never happens. It sounds so cool, it feels awful to play it every single time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when they say it feels awful to play every single time, it never made it off the floor. You know what I mean?
But you know that means that they tried this out like a lot of times.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's probably one of those things that's so powerful they had to make sure it was even something they wanted to do. Huh. Here's a question that's near and dear to my heart. Somebody asked, any chance for a new milestone like the 500 wins golden portrait, maybe a new platinum portrait, or a card back at 1,000 wins, or even 2,500 wins? And they said they've been working on this particular issue for a while. Medium and long-term goals are one of the most consistent pieces of feedback we've gotten from longtime players, and so we've got some stuff we're looking into to address it. Nothing to announce now, but it's something we'd like to improve. Things like, you know, medium, what do they look like and stuff like that. Basically, they're saying, okay, they're acknowledging people have been asking for it. I've been asking for it. I mean, you know, I like having something to work for. It's like I have over 1,500 rogue wins.
Well, and bragging points, right? Like,
yeah.
to be able to show that you've been here since the beginning, you've played so many games, and to be able to like express that to your opponent somehow,
Well, I remember
intimidate them maybe.
back before I had any golden portraits. I remember going up when I was playing Hearthstone. Somebody had like a golden hero of some kind. Like, oh, a golden hero, they must be good. I remember thinking that, and then. Now it seems like everybody's got golden heroes, so you just like, oh, you don't have a golden hero. Oh, you must either hate that character or you're new to the game. It's.
Well, when I play Druid, I don't have a golden Druid. And when I go up against a golden Druid, I'm immediately thinking in my head, oh, he probably thinks that I'm just like a noob Druid and I don't even know how to play. And like, there is definitely mind games going on there at a deeper level.
There really is. I mean, I think that when I play any game and there's some kind of swag or some kind of like achievement that is obvious, like, oh, I have to think about you differently because you're kind of displaying that you are an expert at this, or at least if you've won 500 Druid games and I haven't, I'm just going to kind of assume you know how to play Druid better than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they asked, will Tyrande and Khadgar, the portraits, make their return this year? People have been asking about that, at least in the Twitter sphere.
Every single time there's a Q&A, it's like automatic.
And it sounds like they're working on it. It says they want to get them back to us. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's money, Why not? It's just a portrait. People saying, take my money. And they're like, well,
they finally came out and
sure
said,
if we want to take your money.
Literally, before the end of the year.
Yeah.
To finally get people to stop, like, filling up chat with Tyrande. When do we get Tyrande? When can I have Tyrande?
You know what my guess is? My guess is that because those portraits were arranged as a Twitch thing and as an Apple thing, that they have to make sure that the contracts and there's no business violations when they do it.
Oh.
I bet you that's what it is. Is they're having to negotiate, all right, if we give it out again, who gets paid? And because Apple could say, like, no, we don't want to. It's ours. You made a deal with us. We're going to just keep it. They could do that.
I hadn't considered that. That's
I think it's business related.
I mean, they haven't come out and said it, obviously, that it's a part of the problem, but would they be contractually obligated to say that, to not say that? Because then you might get a lot of hate at Apple by being like, hey, you're keeping my Tyrande from me.
Yeah, they don't want to. Probably don't want to show you how that particular sausage is made. So, let's see here. It says, since ROS was released, one mechanic left me with a lot of curiosity. Hagatha's teach mechanic. Will the mechanic of teaching spells come back one day, or will it be specifically flavored for only the evilest Hagatha? All right.
I really I played that a couple of times because I was playing. What's his name?
Whizbang.
Wilfred Fizzlebang. What is
it?
Wilfred
Fizzlebang. Yeah.
I was playing.
Wilfred.
No, wait, that's not right.
Well, what are you asking?
The deck guy who gives you all the decks.
Oh, Whizbang.
Whizbang. I was getting the two mixed up.
Whizbang the Wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of his shaman decks has the Hagatha in it because I don't actually own her. But she's so fun to play. To like teach the thing.
Yeah.
Spells. Like that's such a cool mechanic. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. And if they had it on more than just like one legendary, maybe that'd be too OP, but it's such a fun thing. How does Growl's eat mechanic work?
Well, you play him and he picks a minion in your deck and he eats it. So it's like it's like a selects a random minion in your deck and he gains their stats, and when he dies, the minion that it ate goes into your hand. So it's kind of an indirect tutor. It tutors out a minion and buffs one.
That's
so
cool.
Grawl could be really busted, or he could, it's a random thing. So if you stacked your deck a certain way, it could always be good, but at what cost? And so that's it's like a teach thing. But those are both of those cards do a very eat and teach, eat me to teach, or teach me to eat. So
I think those two mechanics are so fun. That is so neat.
And yet they don't really see much play. It's almost like if it's fun, it's not competitive.
Or they just got the stats kind of wrong, like how much it costs and how much the body is and things like that, that it didn't quite make the cut of things that people are doing in this meta.
Mm-hmm.
But those are so neat. And anyway, they said, we don't have any plans, but I don't see why not. So
yeah,
there isn't a card out there that does the exact same thing right now, but yeah, whatever.
That's cool. I mean, they don't need to have cards. I mean, if too many cards do the same thing and it's not really, I mean, that person wrote the question, thought it was great, but maybe the community doesn't. Who knows? I'm going to skip a question, but it talks about the Tyrande thing some more, so we're not going to worry about it. It says, somebody asked, will there be replacements for the classic cards that recently got Hall of Famed? When yes, how soon can we expect them? They said they got replacements for Hall of Fame and classic cards internally, but we're looking for the right patch to introduce them. Won't be in the next one. That has the mission content, which is coming next. Yay! And we're hoping to get them out before the next expansion. So there's going to be some stuff to kind of replace it. It's probably not going to be terribly impactful, but they have this weird ethic where, well, if we took some card out of your collection, we better give it back to you. So we'll see.
In the past, haven't they made cards, classic cards, that were from other expansions, and they just made them classic? Isn't that what they did? I'm trying to remember what they replaced Ice Block with.
They didn't. They just got rid of it.
No, remember they made like a really crappy mage spell. Like nobody replaced.
It's not even that bad. It's just it doesn't do anything like what Ice Block did. It doesn't.
Right. Like I don't think they're trying to replace the effect with a similar effect. They're just trying to give you a card that makes sense as a classic card. Like if they take away a spell, they'll probably give you a spell. And if they take away a minion, they'll give you a minion. But I don't think that they care about giving you a similar effect. It's just, does this card make sense as a classic card? Does it fit the flavor of the class? And that's what they're going for. So, yeah, they're going to replace them, but not right now.
They're not in that big of a hurry. We'll skip a little bit. I like this question. It says, quoted from the Implement Auto Squelch thread, what are the current reasons for not implementing this now? And very simply, they say, same old story, same old song and dance. Hearthstone doesn't have a lot of ways to interact with other players. Emotes are one of the few ways to actually have some sort of communication. I'd say as far as toxic behaviors go, emotes are among the least harmful.
Blah.
That's very true. That's very true. We squelch because the toxicity is in our own mind. I think we don't want to interpret it and filter it in ways that may or may not be meant a certain way. So I think sometimes we're our own toxic enemy. So auto squelch, whatever. I don't care. I don't know. What do you think, Eve?
I think that the only reason they say that is because it's comparative to other things, but we don't have anything else available. Unless you accept a friend request and talk to somebody, the only thing that people have available to them is the emoting. So it is actually the most toxic thing that we have available to us. It's the only thing we have available to us.
Other than accepting a friend request and being called obscene things.
Yeah, just don't, though. Like, just don't.
Yeah, but you get to choose that. But the thing is, the same thing is you can choose to squelch or not, too. So it's...
Well, I mean, apparently there's a bug, which is the next one, that if you play on a mobile device and you get a disconnect or receive a phone call, the squelch falls off, and then you have to squelch again, and you might have gotten spammed with a bunch of emotes in that amount of time. So they said it's a bug, and they're going to take a look at it, so...
It's an interesting bug. I had not thought about that.
Yeah.
Ooh, somebody asked, as a member of the art team, I have a question. Imp, Treant, and Squirrel all got new token art for Rise of Shadows. Why didn't the Murloc from Soul of the Murloc get a new token art? Just curious. It's interesting. They reply, I'm actually further down the pipe than card art. Usually by the time I see card art, it's usually getting pretty close to done, so I can riff on it for the effects. So I'm honestly less involved in the 2D side than most of the designers here and our awesome 2D artists, of course. We do like making new art tokens to fit the theme of the set as it helps fulfill the fantasy and flavor of the set. There are a few cases when a token may reuse old art. For instance, if it's a minor part of the set and the old art is particular fitting for some reason, the card art changes late in the chain design process or some other reasons. Basically, they're saying, we never got to it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the treants obviously are different than the regular treants look, which they're kind of like purple, and it goes along with
Purplish.
the whole evil thing. The squirrels that pop out of the squirrel are like angry and
Druid of the
mean
Acorn
looking,
or whatever that is.
instead of the squirrel you get from the other one, which is like just happy and red and like
Generic.
yeah. So it makes sense to me, and that's kind of cool that they actually take the time to make different token art to be like, this squirrel feels more like in tune with this set. So that's neat.
Yeah. We'll skip the next one. It's just asking more about infinite value cards and rotation stuff, and we've already kind of talked
Dr.
about that.
Boom, Hegtha. If they think there's a need, then they will change them. They're always open to change. They're not saying, we will never nerf, we will never rotate. They're just saying, we're keeping an eye on things.
Yeah. And the next one says, standard rogue decks are the most entertaining to play I have seen in years. The problem is that a lot of players feel the same way, and we see almost 30% of all decks on the ladder are rogues. What are you going to do with keeping an eye on it dominating so much? And they say generally we like it when players find the answer themselves by playing decks that can counter the decks they find to be dominating the meta. That said, we'll continue to monitor the play rate and win rate of rogues to ensure it doesn't get out of hand, and if it does, we'll step in as we have in the past. That's the most, I think, consistent answer I've ever heard to that question. That question gets asked all the time. What happens when you see all shamans? What happens when you see all warriors? What happens when you see... Because everybody says, well, it's only 30% of the meta is this and that. And
well, here's the thing, though. Like, that's also your perception.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people saying we all feel this same way is completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, legit, when I first started playing, all I saw was warrior. Warrior after warrior after warrior after warrior after warrior. And it felt like that's all that there was. But now it's not.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're saying. They're like, give it a while. Everything goes around. Everything changes. Everything moves.
Yeah, if it goes on for months of the same thing, then they'll step in as they have. But it's like if it's like a week or two, they're not going to mess with it.
Yeah. Archivist Elysiana. I don't really understand the hate against her. Do you get it?
I understand it in the competitive scene when everybody's bringing warrior and the games are lasting long because she adds length to the game.
Okay.
On ladder, same story. It's like, if you want to play warrior, you just kind of have to accept your games are going to be long. And Archivist Elysiana is just, I think, the normative thing right now. So you're asking for, you want to play warrior, which is long anyways, and you're saying, I don't want this card that makes it longer, but is it going to really change it that much? I don't play warrior then. She doesn't seem broken to me. She doesn't seem like she does an incredible thing that it just makes the game grindier. So I don't know. I don't know that it needs a change.
I think that they are waiting until after the World Championship.
Probably.
To see if it impacts, like, were people really complaining that these were boring games to watch and they were long and it affected the pro play so much that what they want is, fun, interesting games, people to watch, people to enjoy. And did she affect it as much as people think she's going to? And does she deserve a nerf after that? So if that happens, then I could see them doing something about her.
Ratings are a thing. And if people don't, I've heard a lot of people complain about how the specialist format is just not very interesting to watch. I could see both sides of the coin. I don't have an opinion one way or the other because I don't really spend a lot of time watching competitive Hearthstone. It's just not something I want to spend my time on. Mm-hmm. But I could see both sides of the coin in that regard. Ziliax is the most played card in Standard right now. Is he on a watch list, or do you like how he affects so many archetypes? Basically, long story short, they think he's fine.
Yep.
Ziliax gets played a lot, and he's a pretty darn balanced card. You can deal with him. He does kind of do his job. It sucks when you can tack him onto a big giant mech, and they can heal up for 18 or something silly like that. But it is what it is. I think he's a good card. He's a legendary worth having. If you don't have him and you're playing in the Standard meta, he's still a great card.
Yeah, I find him fairly okay to remove. It's not something that's insurmountable.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel horrible when he comes down. Wild should be a
Yeah.
reservoir for old, strong strategies, which has no place in standard and balanced metagame, but the format should also evolve with new expansion being introduced to the game. This is exactly what you were talking about, Grant.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's the next couple questions get into that, like which, what are they going to do about Wild? And we've kind of already touched about, what they could do, and it's just change the format, make it to where we can play other stuff and don't have to play the same stuff with the same counters and the same text and stuff like that. Now, I do know there are Wild players out there, like Dewin and Danny Donuts and guys like that who are Reno Jackson, who are always experimenting. They kind of take this a stale thing and they basically turn it on its ear because they have creative minds.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, most of the players who play the game in a generic sense are not as creative as people like that. So they're not necessarily able. So what they're saying is like, for those of us who are not creative geniuses, can you switch it up a bit? Thanks.
Yeah, because with the standard, there are so many websites and people constantly trying to break the meta and find new decks that if you're net decking, which a lot of us do, you have a lot of options. You can go everywhere and find little tweaks and different things. Wild doesn't have as big of a community, as big of a reservoir to look for new decks. So that might be part of the reason that it's stale, is you don't have as many people trying new things. So if you think that the Wild meta is stale, try new things.
Yeah. This is for sure the truth. Well, let's see what's next. Somebody asked if Serenite Chain Gang would get unnerfed, and they basically said, nope. Can you unnerf not Yogg? Nope.
Yeah.
They don't want Shutterwalk infesting the Wild meta, and they don't want Yogg to do the things that Yogg does.
Yeah.
Yeah, moderately sad. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see them unnerf it for a period. It's like, we're going to try unnerfing it for a month and see what happens.
Well, Yogg is neutral. I think that's part of the reason they also say that, because she said if we were to do this sort of thing again, we'd rather put it in a class where it's a little more contained. But Yogg being neutral and being able to be put in every deck is also something that caused a lot of consternation in the past.
Somebody asked a question about. Yeah, we've touched on that. Somebody asked, is there any secret interactions on the Ride of Shadows game board, like the volcano from Ungoro? And their answer was nope, there aren't. I think they just wanted to try it, and I think everybody's trying to.
What are the troll gates?
Yeah.
It says, and the troll gates kind of wrote themselves as well.
I don't know what the troll gates do. Maybe are they talking about when you click it and the different Loa spirit kind of comes out?
I've done that. I mean, that doesn't seem like a secret interaction, though.
No more secret than anything else. Somebody asked if there was a wild card you would bring back from Standard, what would it be? And they said Glimmerroot. I love that guy. Okay, why Glimmerroot? Glimmerroot was the one where if you cast him, they would give you 3 possible cards that were in your opponent's deck, and if you guessed the right one, you got to keep it. If not, then it just vanished. Why that card?
I'm super attached to his FX because they were really fun to make, so I'm biased. Does he make like a little sound?
I don't even remember. He
I
was
did
played
use it
for a while.
Lot. Yeah.
He was played for a while, but okay, whatever. Was Archvillain Rafam Thanos inspired? I can see he has the Staff of Origination in the form of the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, okay. I don't know. They said they basically gave a non-answer. It's like,
what? I think he really wanted to make himself something cool that the league could rally around, but Togwaggle got super confused about how many fingers it was supposed to have, so he gave up and just glued the staff to his arm. This is actually canon. We have some very stupid conversations at team breakfasts.
Okay. That was an interesting response that kind of doesn't make sense, but okay.
Oh, boy. Okay. Going. We're working on ways to get hero skins out more often. Good, because we just need more options. Like, more options for hero skins is good. You don't want the game to get oversaturated with them. There are some times when I look at a hero skin and go, what class is that again? But then you just look at the hero power, which is always the same. And I'm like, oh, it's shaman, or, oh, it's warlock. So do get that if you had too many hero skins, there would be a time when you'd queue up against somebody and be like, wait, what is that even? And especially for new and returning players. So I kind of understand that. But still, I just want more options of different heroes to play.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Well, I mean, if you've ever played Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm, you know that like you'll be playing and you're like, what character is that? Because there's so many different skins you can pick from, And there's times where I have to think about, who is that again? Oh, based on the shape, the character outline and what they're doing. Oh, okay, I know who it is. But I can see how in a game like Hearthstone that might be the same problem. So that makes a lot of sense.
It might just throw you off for a little until they start actually playing, and then you're like, oh, it's a priest. But as long as the hero powers always stay the same. So I guess it's a lot of workload for getting the sound effects, like because there's so many lines that they have to say and things like that. So that slows down.
It's not just an art issue.
Yeah. But they're talking about getting the whole process to move faster, both for FX and everyone else involved, while still keeping them looking rad. So they're working on ways to streamline that so we can get more.
What I'd like to see is just completely revised just portraits.
Like upgrade the art?
Yeah, like a new Thrall, a new Garrosh, a new Jaina. I mean, we kind of got a new Jaina, but that it was more in the terms of a nerf or a mod, rather.
Shami's Jaina.
Shami's Jaina. But I mean, like, I like the art, but I could see a world where maybe they just update it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I
What do you think,
like that's what video games do over time. World of Warcraft has done it multiple times of upgrading the graphics.
Sure.
And so maybe there were a couple that were sort of really basic when they first came out, and they could kind of just spruce them up a bit. Make them a bit more detailed, a bit more, while still keeping it Thrall. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Make it Thrall, just make it a different awesome picture of Thrall.
So you're thinking of like hero skins ideas of like Thrall, but he's like his warrior version.
Sure. Yeah. Warrior version, or
because there is like a Thrall that's like fully armored instead of like his beads and his like shamanistic sort of thing. It's kind of like more his doom hammer, that sort of deal. I think we've come to the end of the Q&A. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we blasted through it, but we're still at an hour and a half. I'm gonna talk. I'll just do it real quick, I guess. We'll talk about the deck of the week. Because this is a fun deck, I'm not going to get hyper into it, but I call it the Vareesa Joybuzz deck. It was made by Theo HS, who's a really good deck builder, and streamer Slissa, who's a very good player, F2K player. She piloted it to Legend and talked about it being fun, and at the time I needed a good year of fun, a good bit of fun there. So I'll read the deck list real quick and talk about what I like about it and what you can, it's one of those decks like recommended for people who like to have a bit of fun and want to play Malygos in Hunter. So it has 2 arcane shots, 2 rapid fires, 2 secret plans, 2 trackings, 2 animal companions, 2 deadly shots, 2 kill commands, 1 master's call, unleash the hounds, marked shot, 2 wing blast, but by the way, 2 unleash, 2 unmarked shot, 2 baited arrows, 2 unleash the beasts, 1 Vareesa Windrunner, 1 Geppetto Joybuzz, 1 Alexstrasza, 1 Malygos, and 1 Zul'jin. Basic gist of the deck is when you're playing it, understand if you're playing aggro or control. If you're playing aggro, you want to mulligan for stuff that can deal with their board, because the idea is that you want to try and survive until you can combo off, which is basically try to get the 2 ways you would do it is you can use Vareesa, who has the weapon, which gives you +2 spell damage. So you attack with the weapon, and then you use your what are those called? The rapid fires, or the what's the other one? The arcane shots, which they do +5. So 1 + 5 is 6, and you can hit them for 4 mana. You can hit them for 24 with the Malygos on the board, which is really good. And let's see. So with Vareesa, let's see, 2 + 3, so you can do a lot of damage doing it that way. Malygos makes it easy. If you're doing control, you can mulligan and you can keep Geppetto in your mulligan. and just try to get your big fatties out and just chip them down and get them within range. It's basically the deck's pretty straightforward like that. It's not terribly hard to play. Really fun.
There's a lot of legendaries.
There's a lot of legendaries. It's not cheap. I mean, Zul'jin, Malygos, Alexstrasza, Geppetto, Vareesa, all legendaries. Master's Call is an epic. So it's not cheap to play. It's got a lot of like standard hunter cards. So yeah,
it's something new.
Something new, something different, and you will have a good time playing it as long as you're not running into token druids and boards that go wide. Boards that go wide are super hard. If it's control that you're going against, it's super fun because you can deal with their things because like Wing Blast and Marked Shot and stuff like that are really good at dealing with me because almost they all do like 4 damage or something like that. So you can deal with their threats. They put a threat out one at a time, you're in business. But if they put a bunch of threats out, you're in trouble. If it's a control-ish meta, you can win a lot of games. If it's a wide board aggro meta, you're going to have a rough time. But it is really fun to play.
Someone needs to tell me when it's time for the wide board again because the last couple of times I've been playing, it hasn't been.
And Wild, it's a wide board meta. Man.
So should I take my druid into Wild?
Just see what happens. Or play a Wild version of it because you can play like Living Roots and stuff like that.
Living Roots
and it's even more busted. You should try. You should look up a Wild list of it. I don't know. It's probably a tier 2 deck, but people hit Legend with tier 2 decks all the time. So try it.
It is true.
Anyways, we are at the end of the show.
We're exhausted. We hope our labors have pleased you.
Yeah. If you want to check out anything regarding the show going forward, you can head on over to VelensChosen.com. You can find our links to Twitter, Discord, Patreon, etc. If you want to shoot us, support the show, head on over to patreon.com/VelensChosen podcast. Any dollar amount is much appreciated. We're very thankful. And by the way, thanks, big shout out to our number one sponsor, Jamie S. We really appreciate all that you do for the show, the interactions in the Discord, and for just being an all-around cool guy. You can support the show by leaving us an iTunes review. iTunes reviews help us get noticed. Leave us a review. We're on Podbean now and Spotify, so you can listen through non-iTunes means. Leaving reviews there, follows there are always useful. Eve, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Loremaster Eve. I do have another podcast called Knights of Lore. And we haven't talked about it in a long time, but we actually have merch. We have links to it on VelensChosen.com, our website, if you want to check it out. We actually have shirts with the logo and cups and hoodies and different things that we haven't mentioned in a long time. So you know what? I'm just going to mention it. We got merch if you want to support us. If you're going to BlizzCon, which they announced, was it yesterday or today, that yes, there is going to be a BlizzCon, because there were some people asking, is there going to be one? Then you can rep Velen's Chosen, wear one of our shirts and walk around and meet people. So.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to find me, you can head on over to Twitter. That's where I'm the most active, that and our Discord. So really join the Discord if you want help getting better at the game and just a community to, support you and just bounce ideas off of. But you can find me on Twitter at WatchmanHS. My Battle.net if you want to friend me in game, play some rounds, ask questions.
Cry I mostly play on Mebble, so you're losing to Venomizer missile launcher?
I like it. My battle tag is Watchman #1140. I'll even play Overwatch with you if you're on. I like playing. If you're decent at Overwatch and you're not toxic, feel free and we'll do that. But anyways,
if you're decent does it for our and not toxic.
Well, I mean, I don't want somebody who's just going to feed. I don't want to play with somebody who's going to feed or like be the person on the comm the whole time trying to tell everybody how to play, but they're not even hitting any of the. They're not checking any of the boxes of like meddling or playing good support or anything like that. So anyhow, I digress.
I play Destiny. You can play Destiny with me too.
I'll play this. I might play Destiny. You play Destiny on PC, Eve?
No, PS4.
Oh, well, isn't that cross-platform though?
No.
Is Destiny cross-platform? It's not. Oh.
Nope.
Meh. Boo face.
It's
All
just
right.
like PC and consoles. I don't think will ever be cross-platform because the way that you play is so different. Like the guns in Destiny are different. How good they are because there's so much aim assist on the console and there's not on
Sure.
PC. So
Sure.
even how they work out is different. But yeah, I'm on
Yeah.
I'm on PlayStation. Let's see. How could you ask me for my PlayStation name? I think my DMs are open on Twitter. I'm pretty sure. So if you want to chat and tell me you're on PSN, then we can get together in Destiny.
Cool beans. All right, well, that does it for the show. Episode 182, where we just question and answer the crap out of everything. So, all right, Eve, sign us off.
Not all who wander are lost. See you next week.
I foresaw this.
Did I miss it?
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. Got to clap.
You forgot. You were just counting and not clapping.
I said 4, and I'm like, oh yeah, but should I clap? So one more time. I don't know what's wrong with me. Here, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Gotta get the giggles out first. Okay, here we go.